Now, it does seem hard to believe that in 1942, RKO Pictures was in a poor financial state due to the failure of Orson Welles' The Magnificent Ambersons and, crazily, Citizen Kane. But their powerless finances led them to tighten the belt and to take measures like hiring Russian producer Val Lewton to run their horror unit, with provisos that each film have a budget of no greater than $150,000 and run no longer than 75 minutes. Just as an aside, it's occurred to me preparing for this podcast too. One thing zombie films often seem to be is incredibly good value for money. Because the number of zombie films from this to Night of the Living Dead and 28 Days Later and things, the number of them that have had a small or at times minuscule budget and made back millions and millions and millions of dollars is quite remarkable. I'm sure there are hundreds of examples that have made no money or possibly even lost money, but the more well-known examples seem to have been made for threepence halfpenny and earned back $100 million, so they're good value zombie films at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Now, perhaps it was with such strictures as the budget and the running time that unexpectedly produced such a great film as Jacques Tourneur's I Walked with a Zombie, which tells the tale of a Canadian nurse, Frances D., hired to look after the wife of a sugar baron, Tom Conway, on the Caribbean island of San Sebastian. The wife is the zombie of the title, a pitiable woman who exists but does not live. This is certainly not what most modern audiences would expect from a zombie film, I would wager, and Voodoo Guardian Casino, or Super U, or Intermarché, or look, some French supermarket anyway, aside, Carrefour is his name. There's little to this film that I would categorise as horror, at least by any modern standard, although you know that for me, I would categorise absolutely nothing as horror. What there is, though, is plenty of atmosphere and mystery. Certainly there are points of this that almost feel like they could be in something like the Agatha Christie adaptation, and then there were none. That kind of murder mystery feel to it. And there's a lingering ambiguity about whether the causes of Jessica's zombification are purely medical or of supernatural origin. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of interesting stuff going on here. There are bits of the film that's talking about the history of the island as having been built on slaves, and then curiously, the plantation owner himself talks about our history as having been based on slavery, and not this history of the black people living in the island. So I don't know whether that's tone deaf, or the Ilex is suggesting that because obviously he's not a slave, he's more modern. Presumably it'd be his ancestors that were bringing the slaves across. Is that like an admission of guilt? Something that is a wrong that not many white people at the time were likely to admit to? I don't know. And possibly I'm reading too much into it, but there are bits going on here about the history of the Caribbean, and then there's the bringing in of Haitian-style voodoo, and then the idea of co-opting people's beliefs to help them be more ready to take modern scientific advice, that sort of thing. So a lot of interesting stuff going on there, and there is just the central mystery of like, is this film saying that this is all medical but misunderstood, or is it saying that no, there's actually something spooky going on here? And I find that really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and it doesn't really spoon feed you any answers, which is rare for any film, really, but particularly with Zero. But it's, I mean, to a degree, zombies are almost irrelevant to the film. I mean, a lot of what I liked in this film was more the character work of the actors in it. It's just it's night and day with in terms of subtlety between this and White Zombie,
and in acting as well. And this film has any.
Yes, I mean, it would be difficult to really categorise it as a horror, particularly these days, because there is almost nothing scary in it. There's lots of questions, lots of interesting mysteries, and there's maybe one attempt at a jump scare. But other than that, it's almost oddly documentarian, even when it gets to the end of it, and it's when you actually see some of these like voodoo ceremonies going on, it's not like it's actually being used to scare anyone. It's just like, well, here's a thing that could possibly explain some of this, or maybe it doesn't. We're not sure. We're not going to tell you. Which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it seems considerably less offensive than, for instance, Live and Let Die.
Yes.
Which is what, 40, nearly 30, about 30 years later.
Yeah.
And it's a big step backwards in how this this religion and its adherents are portrayed. It's crazy. But yeah, it almost came as a surprise to me to be reading a little bit about this film and it being referred to as a horror and it being under Archaeo's horror department. I'm like, really? Really? And as I say, Carrefour is kind of creepy looking. I guess he's a zombie himself, sort of. But there are some atmosphere bits, like walking through the cornfields, or I guess the cane fields, and there are animal skulls and things. But so there's definitely moments of atmosphere, and it's like creepiness to it. But really, it's very much more mystery than horror. But it's quite interestingly presented, and the acting is such a step above White Zombie. What a difference they've made in 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, strangely, the closest parallel I can think to it is something like Casablanca, which was, intended as some sort of cheaply produced B movie that somehow just lucked into getting good directors and good actors in front of it, and it became a lot more than what it was originally intended to be. That's maybe what happened with I Walk with a Zombie. But yeah, it's certainly very well worth going back and taking a look at if you haven't done so already.
Okay, so